At harm. I am Supergirl.
Hey guys, just finished watching Supergirl. Season 4, Episode 9. Yeah, Season 4, Episode 9. Elseworlds, Part 3. Oh my god, what an episode. So good. So good. Can't wait for next part. So, we start off this episode, we see that we get kind of more like a Flash intro, but it's kind of styled the way the Flash intro, but it was Deegan kind of recapping what's going on so far in the crossover, and I kind of like that. It was kind of, his kind of version of that, and I think that was kind of cool with that. And we find out that they reveal new information in there that he turned himself into Superman, so the Dark Superman we saw at the end of last episode, end of the Arrow episode that was before this, was actually Deegan turned himself into that. So I think that was really cool. It was really cool seeing that, and that kind of brought some interesting dynamics to the episode. So we find out that Supergirl is actually in the pipeline, and it turns out that Supergirl and Superman are kind of, since they're not from Earth 1, they're immune to the book type thing. Now, it doesn't seem like they're completely immune to it. They're immune to it whenever he resets history on this Earth. They're not part of it, so they don't get affected. So he can't swap, Supergirl's powers or anything like that, or you can't take her out of her body or anything like that with someone else because she's not from this Earth. He would have to specifically target her, and when he's targeting, this Earth, and he's not targeting her really, and he's not able to kind of control her. That's why she's been put into a pipeline. So that was really cool there. We also get a cameo from Gary. Gary's the character from Legend of Tomorrow, which really I'm kind of starting to hate. He was okay in this episode. It's cool, like a nod to it. And I was thinking, oh yeah, because there's so much stuff going on in this show, on this crossover, but it's all happening in 2018 on Earth 1, and that's also the same Earth where the Legends are. So we need to see where things go with this, and it doesn't look like we'll have to wait and see when we get back to the regular scheduled regular episodes and stuff, but hopefully there'd be some sort of kind of things that are a little bit changed, maybe little things that are kind of left changes that are kind of still remnants type thing, kind of like when Barry went and did Flashpoint. He came back, and Diggle now had a son instead of a daughter type thing. Like that would be really cool, and changing things, little things like that, little things that kind of change with that, and also have it affect Legend of Tomorrow, at least the 2018 version. I could see them not really actually physically changing the Legends, and the Rave Rider and all that stuff, if they're kind of outside of time and all that stuff. That would kind of makes sense, they wouldn't get affected. But with Nate Haywood staying, Citizen Steel staying in 2018, working at the Time Bureau, and Ava began the Time Bureau, we could see some sort of effects going on. So hopefully we'll have to wait and see as to where things go. Maybe not the episode that aired this week at the same time as Arrow, since it was right in the middle of it technically. So maybe next episode, when we get back from the break, we can see kind of previously on Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl, and just kind of see all kind of Elseworlds, type thing. Maybe I wouldn't even do previously on, because if you're just watching that, you don't really need to recap the whole thing. It's a lot. But just, previously on Flash, Elseworld, and just get a very brief recap or kind of type thing. Things were changed. History was rewritten, and I think that was gone. Previously on Elseworld, history is rewritten, right? And I think that would kind of make sense, and just to see that there are some things that are kind of changed, and I think that would kind of be interesting to see. Just little changes, just the fact that it happened, and if you didn't watch it, you should watch it, but that's why, little things like I said, like Diggle's daughter getting changed to a son, doesn't really change anything. You don't need to see and really know, how it happened, or other than just saying, yeah, Flash went back in time and changed history, right? And it would affect the shows. It doesn't ruin the show if you're not watching the other stuff. But like I said, I keep wishing that they would just kind of really just focus on the people that are watching all 4 shows, and everyone who's only watching one of the shows, too bad, too sad. You're not watching all 4 of them. That's your problem, right? That's the way I would do it, run these shows, and make sure and do more stuff for everyone who watches all the shows. But I guess they just won't do that. There's no way they would ever do that, but we'll have to wait and see where they go with that next year. So yeah, it was really cool seeing Nate as a bartender and what that could mean for Legends, the Legends people. I mean, they must know, they obviously, we're watching this stuff, so that it could be cool to see as to how things go with that. And, does Gary have any memory of the previous history, everything was kind of written and stuff. I think that could be quite interesting seeing that, does he have a memory of, Oliver Queen and Barry Allen as, criminals and stuff, with Cisco Ramon as the boss and all that stuff. I think that could be really cool to see. Even James Olsen and stuff, which I guess technically this wouldn't be, because we did see James Olsen in here. We also saw Alex Danvers in this episode, but it wasn't really them. It was Earth 1 versions of them, and they were able to be changed. So it's because they set up with Supergirl, because she's not from this Earth, she's not from this world, this dimension. She's not affected by the book, nor is Superman. He's able to blast him here and there, but not really kind of rewrite him or body swap him or anything like that. So I think that could be interesting there. And then does that mean that this version of James Olsen we saw, this version of Alex Danvers we saw, I think those two were actually, Earth 1 versions, so they will not have any memories of this, even if anyone is unclear if people will have memories of this body swap other than Barry and Oliver. Barry and Oliver clearly do, but hopefully going into the next episodes of Flash, Arrow, and everything, we see whether or not they have memories of this. I think that could be really cool. I mean, it looks like from Supergirl's perspective, James Olsen is from Earth 1 and Alex was from Earth 1, so they won't have any memory, because when we go back to this one, it was not our Guardian one or the one who's running Catco. They stayed on Earth 38. This is just different Earth versions of them, right? So I think that'll be cool. We got John Jones, Martian Manhunter, and we also got Brainiac in this episode, but those were actually their versions of it, so that was really cool dealing with that. So they'll have some memory that John Jones will, Brainiac, Supergirl. They'll have to just tell the stories too, Lena Luthor and James Olsen and stuff, and Alex, who was not there. I think that would be really cool seeing that. So hopefully we get some sort of stuff going on. Maybe definitely, if Felicity needs to kind of remember what went on in this kind of crossover with her kind of Oliver not wanting to tell her about this body swap and all that stuff. I think it's it's an important part. It's another another thing she just needs to remember, even though he had a perfectly good reason, and Caitlin was able to kind of convince her, yeah, he had a perfectly good reason to do that. When he told us, we threw him in the pipeline and drugged them, and drugged them and threw them in the pipeline, they really needed to know that, right? She needed to know that, so that was cool. So we see Supergirl gets Earth 1 Alex to let her out. That was kind of cool, seeing that kind of the monologue that she does and stuff. It was kind of interesting there. We see Barry and Oliver go to Earth 38 and they get the real Superman, and Lois Lane is there and stuff. They're in their Fortress of Solitude and everything, so that was really cool. We see Barry stops Oliver. At one point we see Deegan Superman kind of has Barry in a chokehold, and Oliver's pointing a kryptonite arrow on him, which, interesting, where does Oliver Queen get kryptonite? Because there's no Superman or Supergirl on Earth 1. There's Earth 38 and Earth 38 Superman and Supergirl, right? But there's none on this Earth, so where does he get the kryptonite? Has Krypton exploded on Earth 38 in this dimension? But yet, there's kryptonite on the Earth without a Superman or any Kryptonians on there. I think that could be something interesting with that. Or did he go over and someone gave him a kryptonite stuff? I think it would be cool to see as to where he got that. And so Oliver is about to shoot Deegan Superman, and Barry stops him. He's like, no, maybe this is it. This is the moment, right? You can't do this. Don't kill him, right? Which, he had an arrow. Just because you shoot someone, unless he shoots him in the head, he's not going to kill him, right? You could have shot him in the foot, and that would have stopped him. Shot him in the bicep, shot him in the whatever. That wouldn't really kill him. He could pull it out, or even just all he needs to do is he could have just shot the arrow. It hits him, in the shoulder, in the leg, in the foot, and then he just enough to let Barry go, and then Barry could kind of run out. Which also, it should not have been a problem with Barry, Superman holding Barry, because Barry should just be able to phase through him, just vibrate his molecules and do that. So I don't know why he didn't just kind of vibrate himself out of that chokehold, or let Oliver shoot him. Oliver shoots him in the shoulder, and then Barry kind of gets out of the chokehold and then pulls the kryptonite out of him and runs it back to Oliver, right? So fast that it just enough to make Deegan kind of let go of Barry, which, like I said, he should not have had to, because Barry should be able to phase through it. That would have made more sense. I don't know why he can't phase through Superman's arm, and maybe he could, I don't know, but that would have made made more sense if he would have been able to do that. Unless Superman can Superman fly or move move fast enough to stop Barry from the other phasing? I think that'd be cool, something cool to play with. Who knows? So we see that. We see Flash and Supergirl. They decide to run around the Earth to try and slow down time. I think that was really cool. Obviously, as Christopher Reeve's nod there. I think that was really interesting that they decided to go with that, even though so many of us know that we all know that that would never work. The idea of Superman flying around the Earth and doing that, he'd have to go so fast, and that wouldn't slow down time because time, you can't control time, right? Like that. So that wouldn't really do anything. It would just it would mess the Earth up pretty bad. So that was really cool to seeing that and kind of nod there and seeing them kind of almost about to and we see Superman when he was reading the book, he saw that they were going to die that way, and I think that was really interesting to see that, and how we got this moment. Pretty much we have in this episode, pretty close to it, the death of Supergirl and the death of Flash moments. We have those in here, and I think that was really cool doing that. And since we do know that we've got the next crossover coming up in fall 2019, I think that's really going to be cool to see since they've done it kind of here, how are they going to do it differently over there, and I think that'll be fun to see that. So we see Oliver goes to confront the Monitor about Barry and Kara, and he's like, why are you going to kill Barry and Kara? They're the best parts of us. I'm the dark side. Why are you doing? So it sounds like he's, going to giving himself up to Barry and to the Monitor instead of Barry and Kara. I think that'll be interesting to see as to where things go with that, if he has anything to do with the next, where things are going to go. And I think that's going to be interesting to see, because the Monitor was going to kill Barry and Oliver for this crossover for Elseworlds as a test for the previous one, whereas it seemed like Oliver switches, like, hey, let them survive, take me instead, and leave them alive for the next one. Yet at the end of this, Oliver still makes it out of here. So I think that's going to be cool to see as to kind of where things go with that going into the next crossover. Is Oliver going to die in the next one? If I'm not mistaken, Stephen Amell's contract is running up. I think it ends with 7. 7 is his last one, and then 8 is an option. He'd have to re-sign a new contract for. I think he talks about this in the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, who famously voiced actually Wally West Flash on the Justice League animated cartoons, and he also played Lex Luthor. So I think that's in Smallville. So I think that's really cool. You can check that out there, that how he has the option to do that, and I think that's going to be cool to see as to where things go with that. Does he join in for another episode, another season? Hopefully they do, and he keep him around, right? He's pretty great. But with them doing that at the beginning of it, I think it's going to be interesting to see as to kind of where things go with that, and if they change it up and having, if we all know that, Barry still has to disappear in the Crisis, we'll just have to wait and see as to where things go with Oliver and the Crisis and stuff. It could be fun there. We see Brainiac and Martian Manhunter show up. So like I said, these are the 38 versions of these, so these should have room memories of this when they go back to their Earth and right in the next episodes. We see Oliver ends up shooting Deacon with a blue kryptonite arrow, and I think that was really cool too. It was cool seeing these kryptonite arrows. Although I don't think we have even played with blue kryptonite on Supergirl. I think this might be the first appearance of blue kryptonite in the Arrowverse, or even on Supergirl, or any of these iterations and stuff, because I don't think we've definitely did red kryptonite on Supergirl, but I don't know if we've done anything but red kryptonite and blue kryptonite. Maybe we've done other stuff. I think we have done we've done silver kryptonite when Superman thought he was fighting Supergirl. I think Terry Hatcher made him think he was fighting Zod, and he was actually fighting Supergirl, right? I think that was the silver kryptonite. But so yeah, then again, where did Oliver get this kryptonite? That'd be something I'd like to see. Did he get it from someone, bring it over from Earth 38, or is there did Krypton explode in this version on Earth in Earth 38 dimension and rained on there, and there's kryptonite out there, and how would he know I don't know, just where did he get the kryptonite from would be something cool to know. But maybe someone could ask like a one-liner in a future episode, where did you ever get that kryptonite? And I think that would be really cool to see that, or maybe see where does he keep it? Does he keep it in lead, or does he even need to keep it in lead, or is it just kind of it's out there, it's around because there are meteor rocks on Earth 1? But since there's no Superman or Kryptonian kind of around, it's not worth anything. He can just collect as much as he wants for very cheap, right? Then that could be really, that would make sense, right? But who knows? I can imagine he would have found a way to do that. Or maybe Oliver being the Batman of this universe, maybe he had Cisco say, hey, breach me over to Earth 38. I need to go get some kryptonite just in case, you know. And I think convincing Cisco to do something like that to get him some kryptonite so that he could have it for an emergency would be an interesting idea to play with, if we had ever had that opportunity. But I don't know how Oliver would go over without Cisco's help at all, and Cisco agreeing to do something like that just so he could have a way to hurt Supergirl if he ever needed to. I don't know, it was an interesting idea, but we'll have to wait and see as to kind of if we ever get an answer as to how and where he got that kryptonite. Would be something cool. So we see Lois. We find out Lois Lane is having a baby, and then we see Superman proposes later on in the Fortress of Solitude. So that was really cool too. So her having a baby, and I think that what's interesting is to kind of how did they really do that? Just because of, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, what was it, the Will Smith movie? I can't think of the movie there where he plays pretty much a Superman character without the heat vision and stuff. Hancock, where, you know, when they're in the moment, he ends up firing, and it's like literally like a rifle shot, right? And he has to, you know, he blows a hole in his, Will Smith blows a hole in his RV, and it's like, how does Superman stop that from happening, right? And I think maybe some sort of kryptonite involvement. I think that would have been a question that Lois Lane, that Supergirl should ask, or the idea of, you know, how does it even happening and stuff, and they got to go live on Argo City so that things don't happen like that, or maybe they consummated on Argo City so that the things didn't have to, you know, that he was pretty much human on there. And I think that would be interesting to see as to where things go with that. If they play with Argo City, you know, she's going to have to go in Argo City to, you know, before the kid starts kind of moving around in there and starts being, you know, superpowers and stuff, super strong. You know, they don't want him to, she wouldn't survive giving birth right on Earth with a super child. So I think that's going to be interesting to see is kind of where things go with that. And when she's already has been on Argo City, assumingly that's where they consummated, right? But how does that affect her? Superman gets his powers from the yellow sun, so does Supergirl. What happens to Lois Lane? What happens to a normal person when they're on Argo City? I think that would be a really interesting question to see as to where things are going to go with that. And then we get at the end of this episode, we get the call from Batwoman saying that Deegan has met a new friend, which is Roger Hayden, aka Psycho Pirate and stuff, and he's really highly involved with the Crisis on Earth, an Infinite Earth storyline. And I think that's really going to be cool to see as to kind of where things go with that. And with Superman being off-world, hopefully they're going to try and do the thing that we've been waiting forever for them to do, is to do Crisis on Infinite Earth so that they could take Supergirl and her whole show and plop it onto the same Earth as Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, so that we can have the supporting cast just bounce back. Because it's really cool when you can have one character, maybe it could be Alex Danvers, you know, she can go on Flash one episode, then the next episode you have Martian Manhunter on Arrow, and then you have, you know, Cisco on Supergirl, and then you have, you know, James Olsen on Legends of Tomorrow, you have, you know, Brainiac in Legends of Tomorrow, you know. I think that would be really cool as to see as to where things go with that. Now, whenever they do this Crisis on Earth X, or Crisis on Earth, Crisis on Infinite Earth, and whenever we do that, how is it going to happen with Superman over on Argo City, and we have we have the whole Argo City? Is that going to come with us? Or are we still going to have Erica Durant as Alora? I think that would really be cool. Hopefully they'll come around with that. Maybe also, and what happens to Mon-El and the Legion of Superheroes where the Brainiac is Brainiac 5 is from, you know? Does that whole dimension come there too? Their future too? Do they come part of it? You know, or after Crisis on Earth X, does that mean that Mon-El can never come back in time and Brainiac will never be able to go back to his future, and Wynn will never be able to come back to his time, or he comes back to his time and everything's completely kind of messed up because it's on a different Earth, right? How does that work? How does it affect everything? I don't think those are going to be the questions that hopefully they'll answer, but I feel like those are the questions we'll have to see as to how things progress after the show continues on. But also, I'm also really hoping that that we didn't see anything more of John Wesley Shipp's Barry Allen from the his original costume and stuff. Hopefully they get to bring him permanently on the show, and he can be, you know, on the Flash or on I'd like to see him be a character that just kind of goes all the shows, you know. Maybe you bring him on in his Earth 38, you know, bring him permanently on the Flash as, you know, Barry Allen, or maybe just he could play Barry Allen, different version of Barry Allen that kind of jumps between all shows, right? He's all over the world type of thing. Maybe he becomes a new Jay Garrick, but keeping his old costume. I don't know how they would kind of play with that, or does he kind of, you know, maybe this Barry Allen takes over the mantle of Jay Garrick. If I'm not mistaken, Jay Garrick is still also out there, so that would be cool to see, is if we ever get to see Jay Garrick and Barry Allen, but both played by John with the ship and stuff. I think that would be kind of mind-boggling, and it'd be really cool to see that, which technically is possible because John with the ship plays Barry Allen on Earth 90, and he also plays Jay Garrick from Earth 2 or Earth 3, if I'm not mistaken. But it's been a while since we last saw him, and if I'm not mistaken, the last time we actually saw him as Jay Garrick was in Flash time, when Barry had to stop a nuclear bomb, and all in Flash time he had to keep bringing different people into Flash time to help them defuse a bomb, right? I think that was really cool. So it's all going to be really cool to see as to where things kind of go with all this. Hopefully they can get some Smallville actors for the next crossover, since they have almost a full year of it. If it did say fall 2019, so does that mean September? Hopefully it's September. I feel like it might be more like October. We'll have to wait and see as if they want to start off the season with that. Is that going to be the first thing we go into, starting the next, season 8 of Arrow, season 5 of Supergirl, season 6 of Flash? Hopefully it starts right off with the crossover. I think that could be interesting to see as to where things go with that. But I feel like they're not going to do that. I feel like we're going to have a couple episodes in September, and then, October could be where things start. Although usually these shows start in early October rather than late September. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things kind of go with the shows, because they're going to continue these shows for the rest of these seasons. They're going to finish off their seasons here, and they're going to get a cliffhanger for their seasons, and those cliffhangers are most likely going to be all separate cliffhangers and non-connecting cliffhangers, right? They're just going to be their own storyline cliffhangers, and they're going to have to kind of solve those cliffhangers when we get back, and then we'll probably have a crossover. So I hope we'll have to wait and see as to kind of where things go with that. Or maybe the season will end with the tease for the Crisis on Earth, Crisis on Infinite Earth. But I mean, I doubt they're going to do that, and if they don't do that, that gives them more time to kind of, get a Smallville actor, which would be cool to see Tom Welling here. But he has said that he would not be interested in doing anything like that, or at least not playing Superman. I know they offered him the role before Tyler Hoechlin, but he denied that. But it would be cool to see him as anyone, maybe someone else. Maybe he could play, anything, right? It would be really cool just to have him as a role, even a role that's open to recurring, right? And then that could be really cool to seeing that. Or maybe even to get Hartley, I can't think of his name, but the guy who played Green Arrow over on Smallville. I think that could be cool if they have enough time, they have almost a year to be able to do that. I think it could be interesting to see him, even though he's busy, maybe just for a cameo during it could be quite interesting. Could be fun seeing the two on the show. Could be quite interesting. And so all in all, I can't wait to see as to where things kind of go with this crossover. It brings up so many questions as to see as to where things go. Who knows? Are we going to get to see a version of John Diggle, who's a Green Arrow? I think that could be really cool. If we do bring John Wesley Shipp's Flash permanently into the shows and have his Barry Allen become part of this main show when they also bring Supergirl and all their stuff, I think it'd be really fun to see as to where things kind of go with all this. And I'm really excited to see as to where things kind of go with this crossover, and I'm excited to see how things go with that. So let me know what you think, how things are going to go. Do you think it's going to be the first thing we start off next season of all these shows is with the crossover? I doubt that we're going to do that, because like I said, we'll have this season's cliffhangers to kind of finish up, but we'll have to wait and see as to kind of where things go with all that. So let me know what you think, guys, about this in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.